Good morning, everyone. As you may notice, it is actually snowing. Yes, so winter is here, has come to Gothenburg, but my videos continue nonetheless. So let's get into it. Today I'm going to talk to you about professionalism, or well, not necessarily something as dramatic as professionalism, but rather doing right by the company even when you don't agree with something. Now, this is a bit of a tricky one, and it kind of is. If you can do, you need to be able to do this, because odds are, trust me, like everybody who's ever had a boss that they don't like is going to deal with this. And basically, what I'm saying is that sooner or later, you are going to be part of a team or a feature or doing something on behalf of the product that you're working on, and you may not actually agree with the decisions that have been made. Now, when that happens, what's going to go through, like, you are not, it's human nature to not feel motivated. It's human to not want to like take part in, or rather be as engaged into solving the issue that you're working on. And you're just, trust me, if you're not behind a decision, you're not supportive of a feature, you will have a sensation such as what I'm describing. You will not feel that you want to build it. Some people will actually even try to avoid working on the feature or the story and so forth. And what I'm basically here to try to convince you is to kind of to take a different perspective on things. And this is something that has helped me, at least, when it comes to like, I had to almost, okay, this is going to sound absolutely horrible, but I had to master that craft when I was working at Ticketmaster. Because the fact of the matter is that these, like, you have, depending on where you work, you have a limited amount of influence on the requirements that your product has. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that you're working for a really big company, lots of people are involved in everything you do, and the requirements that you get for the product may not be exactly what you wish for, what you envision for the project. Because odds are that if you work as part of a product company, that you will get invested into the project, and that's great. I mean, if you care about the project, that's awesome. But don't mistake your emotional investment in the project for you have to have a healthy detachment from things, because the thing is that you can never make things perfect, and the features that are asked to like what people want to add to the product, it's not your project, and you are getting paid to ship value on behalf of somebody else. And that is a harsh truth that you will have to face, because it really doesn't feel nice when you stand there in your stand-up meeting and your product manager comes up and says, hey, we're going to have to build this and this, and you immediately go, well, that's not a good idea, or you don't agree with the decision, and it's a bad decision from all kinds of perspective. I'll give you a really good example, which is, it's the thing that made me realize this, and made me it put me in a situation where I had to start thinking about my role in IT, my role as a programmer, a little bit differently. I was working on, it was just another day at the company, right? And we stood in stand-up, had our discussion about, okay, this is what we're going to do, and this is the roadmap. We have a few features coming up that we're going to work on, and then our product manager comes and says, okay, so in this story, we are going to add a opt-out box to the checkout flow, basically. And so I stopped and asked, wait, so what we're saying here is that after all of that mountain of text and all the clicking and all of the form, like basically filling out all the information on the page, we now want to add a checkbox that you need to click in order to not get spammed by email and like hackers, basically, because, you know, if you didn't know that, all the big companies want your email address so that they can sell that information. That's mostly why they want it. And she kind of went, yeah. And I just looked at her and said, are you serious? We are going to add a button that you have to click so that you do not, because the other buttons, all the other stuff is opt-in, which means that you have to click the check mark in order to receive newsletters, in order to get it. This is just one extra button that is the reverse of that. And I said, that's the type of behavior that spamware uses. That's the type of thing that gets you to install a browser search plugin. That is notorious behavior, or rather like nefarious behavior, in my opinion. That's not for the user. Holy shit, there's a storm coming. And I said, that's absolutely horrible. That's like, I would expect that from some small little download site that sells you, like, that tries to, you know, basically earn some extra bucks from ads and like that type of stuff, but not from one of the world's biggest companies. And she said, well, that's the way it works. You have to build it. And well, not exactly like that, but basically we had a discussion about it. And then finally it came to dawn that, you know, my product manager, that person is just representing the desires of the business. And that's when it clicked for me. I understood that this project that I've been pouring my soul into, basically, like that I've shown so much love, that I build, like, I'm not, of course, not alone, but that I maintain and construct with my own two hands. I don't own it. I can't necessarily control. I don't have any control of what basic. I can express my desires, but at the end of the day, somebody with more money and a fancier title than me can actually come in and say that this is what we're going to do. And that put me in the situation where I realized that, and I've said this in a previous video, the problem was not the project, because or rather the company, because this is something that the company needs. They perceive this as being valuable to their business, and they're about the business. I'm an engineer. I'm about the code. I'm about the problem. So instead of me getting all upset and not, you know, starting to act unprofessionally and like say, no, I'm just not going to do this, or I'm not going to do this or that, then what I should do, and it's actually what I did in the end, is to find a company that shares those values. Do you see what I hope this makes sense to you? Instead of trying to sabotage my work effort, or like, you know, in the place I was working, because the problem isn't the company. The problem is that I'm not like, my opinions and my desires are not aligned with the company. So instead of just sabotaging the project, I simply started thinking about, okay, could I find another project that is more in, like, where I can get where the focus is to create great user experiences and so forth and so forth. And when I started thinking about things from that perspective, I realized that I can actually just do a really good job. Like I can, because I kept on working for a few months, and I kept on delivering, and I kept on like taking pride in the work that I shipped. I wasn't emotionally behind the feature, but I made sure that the code was good, because I want to be a professional. I made sure that I made the best effort I could, and then I found another job where I can work on a project where I won't have to scam people out of their email address. Now, I'm not saying that this is something that is right for everybody, but what I want you to know is that sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you're not emotionally behind the decision that is being made, and you're not, you don't feel that sensation of this is right for the project. And when you're in that position, you have two choices. You can either be a professional and make sure that at least you ship the feature properly. You do a good job, because that's your job as a professional. And you have also the choice of trying, you know, of just, you know, basically behaving like, well, I'm not going to say a kid, but you don't invest in the project, you know, you avoid the project, or you kick up a fuss or so forth. And all I can say to you is that if your decision is to stay in the company and just be unhappy with the decisions that are being taken in, you know, on behalf of you in the project, trust me, it doesn't work out. You're just going to keep on being frustrated. So pick another project. Trust me, don't stick around if you don't feel that the company's moving in a direction that you can get behind. Because if you're anything like me and you really need to feel that you're doing the right things, then you need to find a place where people think the way that you think, because otherwise it's going to eat you up from the inside.